I'm not looking back at yesterday's action to start the Locked On NFL Barbershop. I'm looking right at Aaron Rodgers and the Jets and all that accountability we're about to see on full display. Let's get it.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That's right. And welcome to the new Locked On NFL, bringing you a double dose of NFL's biggest stories with the help of our local experts that know your teams like no one else. I am the host, the barber, Tony Wiggins, joined today by Locked On NFL expert Julian Council. And I'm already laughing because I know he's going to say something funny today. He always does that to me, man. Here's what we're going to go through. Coaches on the hot seat. It got even hotter for more than a few, but we ain't going to talk about two of them here. By the time we get to the end of the show. Ravens and Lions are legit. I mean, seriously legit, even though, you know, they both got a little bit of problems in the trenches now, but that doesn't matter. They're for real and they can overcome it. Monday night football preview. All right, Jets, let's see what you're working with since you got all that smoke for everybody else. We'll get to that after we let you know we appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day and for being an everyday here on Locked On NFL, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure to tune in again to Locked On NFL tomorrow morning for the Madman, Tyler Rowland, and more NFL coverage. Today's episode is sponsored and brought to you by Prize Picks. That's right. Prize Picks is where you need to go, man. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5, just $5. Julian Council, what is going on, man? We're gonna start with I would say your favorite team, but I'd be being sarcastic as usual. This is what we do in the barbershop.
Yeah, the Jets going to jet, right? And they did it last week and they fired Robert Saleh. It's totally his fault that everything has gone astray. It's not the general manager's fault for trading for a player who refuses to play for the team. It's not the owner's fault for constantly hiring bad GMs and head coaches and drafting terrible quarterbacks. It's Robert Saleh's fault. That's what it is in New York. And everything has changed now that Robert Saleh is gone, right? Right?
Yeah.
It's sunshine and roses now.
See there? Look. You know how you buy oatmeal and it tells you what kind is on the pack and you just open it up and add water? Well, you go in the store, you'll see Jet Killer and open it up and add water to Julian Council because that is exactly what I knew what was going to happen, man. It is an absolute mess, but we're about to see now they got everything they wanted. Everything they wanted. And even the thing that Saleh was going to do, or he did 15 minutes prior where he stripped Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers' boy, for play calling. Well, guess what? The new GM did the same thing, or the new head coach did the same thing. Check out John Butchko of Locked On Jets.
Yet another major change for the New York Jets. I'm John, the host of Locked On Jets, and interim head coach Jeff Ulbricht made a major announcement Thursday morning. Offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett will not call the plays Monday night when the Jets take on the Buffalo Bills in Week 6 action. Passing game coordinator Todd Downing is taking over play calling duties. Of course, the Jets offense has underachieved the last year and change under Hackett. The play calling has been very predictable and unimaginative. Downing, before he came to the Jets, was the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator. His record was mixed, but this was a move that had to be made. The Jets had to make a change. Hackett could not continue to call plays. For more on the Jets, tune into the Locked On Jets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
JC, Michael Irvin once said about Nathaniel Hackett, Hackett can't hack it.
No, he cannot. And he should never be a coordinator of an offense in the NFL again. And he should have never had this job. We saw in Denver the first game of the season where he couldn't even manage the game and how poorly that offense was constructed all season long. And the fact that also didn't seem to have the respect of the locker room in Denver. And the fact that the Jets were going to give this man the keys and the reins to this offense, thinking of Aaron Rodgers, who loved Nathaniel Hackett, they could be a Super Bowl contender, was so misguided. And now the fact that, okay, Jeff Ulbricht's here. He's going to be the interim head coach, and he does the thing that Robert Saleh reportedly was going to do anyways and let Nathaniel Hackett no longer call plays and then ask Todd Downing. And is that a solution? John talks about his record was mixed in Tennessee. No, it wasn't. He was terrible as a play caller in Tennessee. Go talk to Tyler Rowland. I used to cover the Titans. Everyone I know who still covers the team knows that Todd Downing can't do it either. So I don't see how things are going to change. Rodgers is cooked. flambéed. Like, this guy's not going to get better moving forward. They have one receiver, they have a running back that they don't use, and the offensive line, while rebuilt, still isn't that improved. This is a bad football team on offense. The defense has at least kept them in games. The offense is still going to be bad. So congratulations. Robert Saleh is gone. Hackett's on calling plays. You have Todd Downing, and you still have a cooked quarterback who cannot do it in the year 2024.
And if that's all true, and I don't doubt it is, then everybody's going to be saying, okay, Buffalo, go. Let's go prove the point. Let's go show that these guys made a mistake, right? So the Bills come in here tonight. Hopefully they can get back on track, but they're struggling offensively. And Joe Marino from Locked On Bills told us all about it.
The Bills in 2023 ran the fourth most plays per game, 66.3 on average. This year they are 31st. 55.8 plays per game. That's a notable downtick. You're down, 11 plays per game on average? That's tough, right? That's production that's missing. And I think it's fair to ask yourself, well, why? Why are the Bills running less plays? Well, they're not as good on third down. The Bills are only 32% on third down right now, 25th in the NFL. It's not a place where they typically are. They're just not being efficient with their offense. And your comment about Curtis Samuel, you thought that he would be more of a gadget player for this offense. I think my exception is that he's only been a gadget player, and I think he's capable of doing a lot more.
Man, you talk about missing somebody. Stephon Diggs was a first down maker. I mean, for a lot of his career. I don't know if that's the way it was the last couple of years, but it seems like to me they're just missing that one go-to guy that either they can go to on third down or that can open it up for other players.
Yeah, I think it's that. And I think also the acquisitions that they made this offseason haven't really panned out for them so far. Keon Coleman, who I love coming out of Florida State, he's still a guy who has a ways to go as he's growing as a wide receiver. Had some bad drops so far this season and good touchdown there against Houston a couple weeks ago. You look at Dalton Kincaid, who they drafted a year ago, really hasn't filled that role of being that every down tight end you can expect to have in the pass game. Also, like Mac Hollins, Curtis Samuel. Do you look at either one of those in free agency as pickups that you're like, okay, that's what's going to keep the Bills offense continuing to look like what they've done the last couple of seasons? No. So looking at the talent overall and the skill positions, it's not that impressive. Like, aside from a James Cook, like, pass to the backfield or running the ball to him, I don't really know. And I guess Khalil Shakir as well. I just don't see what about this team is impressive aside from the fact that they have Josh Allen, who's an alien and keeps him in every game because of just his overwhelming talent and the ability to stay on his feet, and it's hard to take him down. So it's not surprising because we all saw it coming.
Being on the same page helped them early. That's not enough once you get into the meat of the season and teams actually have tape. Now you got to actually go out and do it on the field when teams force you to do it. There are a couple of teams, though, like the Ravens and the Lions. They ain't got no problem showing you exactly who they are on Sundays. And there was a little bit of an audition down in Jerry's world. I'll tell you about that. Look at Julian shaking his head. I'll tell you about that and more as we continue here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Hims. Fellas, sometimes, man, you just got to admit you need a little help, right? Sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be so we can perform in the bedroom. We always want to be on point, right? Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes, if you know what I mean. If you ever feel like you need a little boost in the bedroom, it's time you stop worrying about your performance and get Hims, so you can feel confident knowing you can get hard and stay hard whenever you're in the mood. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment option. hims.com/lockedon. The product mentioned are chewable, compounded products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See websites for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Our show today is also sponsored by people that want to get smarter. That's right. You can do that at Hillsdale College. I'm telling you, man, a lot of times you worry about time, you worry about money when it's time to educate yourself and broaden your horizons. Well, guess what? Time can be dealt with. And the money part of it, well, a lot of what Hillsdale College offers is free. That's right. It is. History, economics, the great works of literature. And listen to this one, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Woo! Some people probably need to read that right now, right? I'm telling you right now, man, all of these things are created so they can brighten your horizons and broaden your horizons. And Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including the ones that I mentioned. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in whenever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go to hillsdale.edu/locked-on to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/locked-on to register. Hillsdale, HILLSDALE.edu/locked-on. All right. Segment number 2 here on Locked On NFL with my main man, Julian Council, talking about teams that need to get their stuff together. I want everybody to watch that Monday night game because it's just free drama. That's just going to unfold right in front of your eyes. Some drama unfolded yesterday in a couple of places. We're going to talk about Baltimore first, man, because Baltimore held off the upstart Washington Commanders in a game where both teams, I don't believe in moral victories, but both teams, it's as long as you come out of a game and it's indicative to where you are. Washington looks like an improving team. They showed themselves to be approved. And Baltimore looks like a team that says, no, not yet, young fella. Wait, we still got a whole bunch of stuff that we're trying to do and accomplish on our own. The Ravens have really, really recovered and fixed their offensive line like during the season, which is very, very rare to happen. Baltimore looks really, really good and looks like the team that's trying to say, hey, we can beat Kansas City or anybody else when we get a chance.
I mean, you look at it, they started the season, they were a toe from Isaiah Likely away from tying that game, potentially going for 2 and winning it on Thursday in Kansas City. Then they had a any given Sunday game where Las Vegas comes in there and wins, and Gardner Minshew has performance we're probably not going to see from him the rest of the year. So it happened. You start off 0-2, but since then, they've been the Baltimore Ravens that we've expected to see, and I still think that this team is the favorite, I think, to win the AFC North and a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
I do too, man. And Lamar looks like he says, everybody's saying reigning MVP. No, I'm going to be the MVP again. But they're getting in a lot of different ways, man. And Kevin Oestreicher, as always, lets us know exactly how they played yesterday and what it took for them to win the game.
The Baltimore Ravens make a statement in Week 6 against the Washington Commanders. I'm Kevin Oestreicher, the host of Locked On Ravens. Baltimore wins their 4th straight game by the final score of 30-23 against the Commanders. Lamar Jackson wins the epic quarterback duel between him and Jaden Daniels, throwing for over 300 yards in this game, asserting his dominance yet again. Zay Flowers goes over 100 yards. Rashad Bateman comes up in big spots. Mark Andrews gets back in on the action with a touchdown catch himself. Defensively, middle of the field, still an issue for the Ravens in that secondary as well, but they bent but did not break in this game, and that's one of the many reasons why Baltimore is able to come out on top with a victory. Up next, a showdown with Baker Mayfield and the red-hot Tampa Bay Buccaneers in primetime. For more on the Ravens and their Week 6 win, be sure to check out the Locked On Ravens podcast and subscribe on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Yeah, man. So, look, what I saw yesterday with the Ravens really, really did let me know, and that's going to be a real, real interesting game with Tampa, too, who kind of got their act together yesterday. That's going to be a nice, fun game. But Baltimore, like you said, they look good, and it's real. It's tangible things that you can grab a hold to. Julie, let me get to this real quick. Okay. Speaking of things that you can hang your hat on, basically, the Cowboys and Lions played yesterday. We want to mention this, too. Bad injury for Aiden Hutchinson. We wish him the absolute best. I saw the report today that he's out for the year, but full recovery for Aiden Hutchinson.
Which is great. And you hate to see that. You don't want to see anybody get hurt, especially a guy who's having a great season like that. And for a team that, I mean, Detroit, they're not, well, Dallas is America's team, but Detroit's kind of become America's team after all the decades of them being terrible. And then now with Dan Campbell, Jared Goff's been able to do, especially seeing Aiden Hutchinson being outstanding. It's tough to see that happen for a team that has real Super Bowl aspirations. So, yeah, wish him the best of luck, and hopefully he's back full recovery and playing the way he played earlier this season next year.
Absolutely. Now, talking about playing. It looked like the Lions at some point start playing with the Cowboys. It's like they were up by 3 touchdowns. And my man Ben Johnson is calling passes to offensive linemen, and he calling all of this stuff as if they're losing the game, and he's getting upset that things didn't go. It looked like him and Aaron Glenn, both coordinators, were auditioning for a game in front, a job in front of Jerry Jones. And there ain't nobody better than to tell you than Matt Derry. This ain't even about the Lions. Listen to what Matt Derry said.
Lions absolutely punk Dallas, and Dallas second biggest Lions road win in terms of deficit in franchise history, as they win this football game by 38 points and blast the Cowboys 47-9. Normally on this podcast, I would be on here screaming, going nuts, celebrating, playing music, laughing at Jera. Oh, happy birthday, Jera. What's he, 82? If you're a Cowboys fan, how do you not give up and just say, I'm done until he sells the team or gives it to his son, or they hire somebody to run football? That Dallas team is bad. I told you all week, and I hate to play the I told you game, but let's deal out the cards. I told you all week they were going to win this game. Lions are a much better team than Dallas. That's a mediocre Cowboy team without two of their best defensive players. And today, 3 of their best 4. If you take out Parsons, Bland, and Lawrence, that defense blows.
Hey, listen. We heard Matt Derry when his Lions lost. Just forget about that and just start throwing salvos at other people. I knew when he won, he was really going to let loose on Jera.
It feels like every other Monday we're discussing yet another embarrassing home loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I don't really know what exactly is going to change at this point in time when you don't have Micah Parsons, when DeMarcus Lawrence is injured. I mean, it's a good thing that they did get Trevon Diggs back, but that didn't seem to help at all. They're bad. And you're not going to fire Mike McCarthy, because does Mike Zimmer truly deserve to be the interim head coach when his defense has been one of the laughing stocks of the NFL so far? Detroit showed they did not respect that Dallas team. And I think it kind of goes deep to like last year when they said that, who was it, Decker, whatever the offensive lineman on that Saturday night game, didn't report as eligible, which was complete crap from the officials. And then Detroit loses that game. And I saw the billboards all week talk about who reported whatever. It feels like it kind of goes back to that, the anger from that loss. But the fact that they don't respect his team when they're running a hook and ladder to Benet Sewell when the game is fully in hand. And I saw some of this Ben Johnson trickery last year when they played against the Panthers, a team they also didn't respect when they were doing all this crazy stuff in the backfield and throwing it to Sam Laporta down the sideline. When they think you stink, they don't respect you. That's what Ben Johnson does in Dallas. They don't respect you, and they embarrassed you yet again. You're muted.
They did. And normally these are things that you would think America's team would reserve for being able to do and say about everyone else. But you're right. They are a work hard team. You know, they remind me of somebody that goes to a coal mine like 16 hours a day. And then they go sit and hear somebody who thinks they got it all together complaining. And then it's like, I'm going to show you what hard work is. And that's how they play. And it's like, and the worst thing you could have done, I think, is do what you did to them earlier this year, because now they're going to leave everything. They ain't going to leave nothing to be desired. They are going to beat teams, especially teams that are dysfunctional. They are going to beat people into submission. And I absolutely love it. I hope my team in Jacksonville understands what that's like by watching it, because they got smoked yesterday. And now some more coaches who are on the hot seat already, that seat got even hotter. We're going to hear from the Bears, who made Doug Pederson's seat a little bit hotter. And then we're going to hear from Ross Jackson, who admits that team probably is another team that's going to be looking for a coach. We'll discuss more in segment number 3 here on Locked On NFL. After I let y'all know about Prize Picks, today's sponsor. Man, look, if your team is losing, at least you can win you some money. That's about all I got for you. And Prize Picks can help you do that. They got over 10 million members, and they give out billions of dollars in awarded winnings. But guess what? You don't have to play against all 10 million of those people. You just do it against Prize Picks themselves. They give out player projections, and all you got to do is go more than or less than on in between 2 and 6 player projections, and you could possibly win up to 100 times your money if you get 4 of them right. You can do it. I know you can. I believe in you. All you got to do is download the Prize Picks app and use the code LOCKEDONNFL, all one word, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You can get it in on the Monday night game. All you got to do is just figure out whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to go more than or less than, and then pick one more player, maybe Garrett Wilson. Maybe you get it right. And if you do, you can win you some money, even if you're a Jets fan. That's Prize Picks at Locked On NFL. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All right, third segment here on Locked On NFL, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen. We previewed the Monday night game. We talked about 2 teams that got it all together. Now we're going to talk about the rest of the story, teams that absolutely do not have it together. And Julian and I, look, it ain't like we sitting around pointing the finger of condemnation, because I cover one of these teams and he covers the Panthers, and we ain't going to talk about them today. But I tell you who we will talk about. Yeah, go ahead, man. I tell you who we will talk about. We will talk about my Jags, but we're not going to do it through me. I'm going to play what Lauren Cox from Locked On Bears said about the rising Bears who beat the Jags 35-16. And then I'm going to let Julian Council do his thing on my team.
The Chicago Bears are now entering their bye week in full stride, dominating the Jacksonville Jaguars in London behind 4 touchdown passes from Caleb Williams. I'm Lauren Cox, host of the Locked On Bears podcast. And yes, the Jacksonville Jaguars are a bad team. I get it. But good teams are supposed to dominate bad teams, whereas average teams play down to the level of bad teams on their schedule. And the Bears kicked butt throughout this game. Defense generating the turnovers, Caleb Williams delivering dimes up and down the field. Yes, he has a bad interception, but he responded with a great game beyond that. Even when the pocket got a little bit messier, Caleb Williams was able to escape, keep his eyes downfield, and make the plays the Bears needed from their rookie quarterback. A lot more to break down in this game coming up on the Locked On Bears podcast on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Julian Council, you said bad teams 3 times. That still wasn't enough to describe the Jaguars. What do you see? I'm too close to it to even talk about it. What do you see, and what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, the Bears didn't kick their butt. They kicked their teeth in yesterday, and that's far worse. I don't know, man. Like, Trevor Lawrence has not looked like a quarterback worthy of the contract that the Jags gave him this offseason. And there were still plenty of questions, I think, even outside of Jacksonville, whether it made sense for the Jags to give him that kind of commitment. And we're seeing why there were those questions, and probably internally should have been those questions as well. I mean, as someone who just covers the team, I'm sure you wondered, would that make a lot of sense? You probably questioned when it happened. I don't know how this gets better. Doug Pederson was asked a couple weeks ago whether he saw that himself on the hot seat, and he said, "What? That's a ridiculous question. How can you not? Are you that like unaware of what's going on, where your team completely fell apart last season when they were 8-3? And I get Trevor got injured, but still, the only team they beat was the Panthers, who then watched their owner throw a drink on a Jags fan after the game. So that's the only team, the only dysfunctional team you can beat. And now you're right back to being the same dysfunctional franchise that you're known to be over the last couple of years. And it's sad to see, because I really thought Jacksonville was turning a corner with Lawrence at quarterback and with Doug Pederson, a real head coach, not the Urban Meyer situation. I'm just counting down the days until fans show up in clown suits again, asking for Pederson to be fired, and probably Trent Baalke as well.
Lord have mercy. If you want to hear my opinion on it, go to Locked On Jaguars, because I can't even get started on it and end it real quickly. Julian said a mouthful right there, but he's right. Sometimes when you're so close to things and you know all of the reasons, and like reasons and excuses are like identical twins until you really, really shine a light on them, right? So the thing with me is, it has to get bad for everybody to start noticing it before you realize you got like a real problem. Like, you might not be embarrassed. Go ahead.
But here's the thing, like, it gets bad, but like in markets that we cover, if the Panthers are bad, no one cares. If the Jags are bad, no one cares. Like, the only reason anyone's talking about Jacksonville after yesterday is, well, because Caleb Williams looked awesome, and the game was at 9:30 a.m. for the whole country to watch in London. If that's a 1 o'clock game, no one cares.
Well, they care in the city. And the thing is that enough, though, to make the owner do something? Because he's going to get his revenue share in check regardless. Is it enough to make him go, like, you might not be embarrassed? I don't know anybody. This is another analogy. You got roaches, right? You know you got them. You cool with it until one of them walks across the TV screen while you got company. And now all of a sudden we need an exterminator. No, you knew there was those roaches in that house before. Look at Julian looking like this dude talking about roaches. But you know what I mean? I'm talking about an infestation of filth. And that feels like what this is. Now, Ross Jackson with the Saints, they're in the same situation because everyone thought this was Dennis Allen's team that was going to finally show that he should be gone. A lot of people thought he should have been gone last year, right? But they said, no, we're going to give him a quarterback, even though the quarterback got hurt. And then they start out playing really, really well. And it's like, is Clint Kubiak masking a whole bunch of stuff? Well, just like I said, eventually what happens is the truth starts to show up. And I think the Saints are in trouble too. Listen to Ross Jackson. Ross with a beard, by the way. Check this out.
Well, at least the first half was fun to watch. Ross Jackson, host of the Locked On Saints podcast. The New Orleans Saints dropped their game, a must-win game, it felt like, in this one, 27-51 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who come to town and absolutely steamroll this New Orleans Saints defense. Now, on Spencer Rattler, who got his first career start, I thought he looked great in the first half, looked really good in the first half. And then things kind of settled down a bit in the second half. We'll see how he's able to bounce back on Thursday against the Denver Broncos, but some promising things from the young rookie quarterback. The biggest thing for me, though, in this game was that the New Orleans Saints defense is at its absolute worst in the Dennis Allen era. Whether you look at him as a defensive coordinator or a head coach, wherever you want to go back to, this is the worst performing defense we've seen under Dennis Allen. 51 points given up, the most in his tenure as a defensive coordinator or head coach. 594 total yards given up, the second most in franchise history, and the most in his tenure. If the Saints don't get their defense adjusted fast, things aren't going to look great for them nor Dennis Allen by season's end.
Sometimes to make moves happen, things have to look bad in front of company. And I think that's what's happening right now to the Saints and Dennis Allen. Just like Doug Pederson, that seat is hot.
Yeah, I don't know if the defense is the worst it's been under Dennis Allen. Like, obviously, Ross covers his team intently, but like you look at this season, like the 51 points they gave up has been an anomaly. They gave it 26 to Kansas City. They gave it 26 to the Falcons. They gave up 15 to the Eagles, 19 to the Cowboys, and 10 to the Panthers. So the dam broke on Sunday against Tampa, and it looked bad, and it looked even worse because it's a divisional opponent. But you look at who they played so far, like the only two teams they beat are the Panthers, who are garbage, and the Cowboys, who also are an embarrassment. Like, they so far have lost to a Bucs team who I think is right there with Atlanta, potentially going to win the division. I think both those teams potentially make the playoffs in the NFC. Kansas City, we already know who they are, Super Bowl contender. And then the Eagles are, I mean, they're pretty mid, but they're still a better team right now than New Orleans. So it's not surprising that they're sitting in this spot at 2-4 so far this season. Maybe 3-3, you would have thought. But no one expected this Saints team to turn things around and be a playoff team this year. You look at Derek Carr, he was playing good football until he hurt his oblique, and he's going to be out for the next couple of weeks, and we'll see what Spencer Rattler is able to do moving forward. I don't know what they're building towards. Like, Dennis Allen was never considered that high level of a coaching candidate, and had Sean Payton not quit on the team, they're probably not in this situation to where it's like, all right, let's keep the guy who's been around here. The players know him. There is support in that locker room. But yet another example of why you never let the players hire the coach.
You never let them hire the coach. You mentioned garbage. The Jaguars are garbage. The Cowboys are garbage. They are actually worse than garbage. They're that little residue, like when the garbage man pulls off, you know, that little juice that drops off the back of the truck. That's what they are, man. It is terrible. God. I'm talking about, and it leaves a smell that you wouldn't. That's how bad these franchises are right now. And it took a while to get to that point. But we're 6 games into the season, and it's very, very clear who the people are that should probably let go. And if you want to know more about that, tune in to Tyler Rowland, because Tyler will fire any and everybody on Locked On NFL. He does it every single morning. It's a part of the Locked On Podcast Network's new Locked On NFL, where you get double dose. You get him and you get me. You get Tyler in the morning, getting a double shot of espresso, using the hosts that know the teams better than anyone else. And then you come on in the barbershop and you get the same thing here, like with people like Julian Council. And we get to let him talk about the Jets. That's right. All right, man. You guys hang tough. Make sure you check out Locked On NFL wherever you get your podcast. and all of the other podcasts from around the Locked On Podcast Network. You guys take care, and we'll do the same here on Locked On NFL.